nice. I live in Bucharest. I live in one of the richest neighborhoods there. And when you see all the beautiful young women gathering to all the best restaurants and stuff, dressed to the nines, blows away models in America. Like the men that are usually on their arm are very well off. The parking lots are filled with exotic cars, high end stuff. They're wearing clothes, bags that are costing more than your salary. It's normal. This idea that you could get a 9 or a 10 in Eastern Europe without having 7, 8 figure pockets is a joke.
Did I hear that correctly? This Romanian YouTuber is claiming that you need to be making 7, 8 figures in your wealth in order to date the super hotties, the uber beautiful here of the eastern part of Europe, or New Europe as I'm referring it to as at the moment. Did he mean in US dollars or euros? Did he mean Romanian lei? Still seems very high to me. Maybe he means Moldovan lei, which is where I am today. Got the Arco de Triomphe here in the center of Chisinau, capital of Moldova, and the exchange rate here is about 1 to 20 to the US dollar, so maybe we're getting into more reasonable ballpark in terms of your net worth and your dating opportunities here in this part of Europe. So in today's video, I'm going to react to this Romanian guy and his claims. He reacted to one of my videos. It was kind of a bit odd in the sense that he seemed to actually agree with 99.5% of what I was saying, but in the bit that we clearly have a little bit of disagreement on, it's actually really interesting, and there's some really great lessons for you to learn, because sometimes we think that, you know, the local lads, they're kind of omniscient because it's their culture here, but like everywhere else in the world, a lot of men have a lot of blind spots about what's the reality of dating the super beautiful of their own countries. So this video, I have to start off by saying, is not as egregious as some of the other reactions that I've seen from local lads like from Serbia and Georgia, the kind of incel gang that hangs around with Roman, the Russian YouTuber, and FKRZ. Their stuff was pretty out of left field in the sense that, well, they obviously struggle with dating local girls completely and basically end up just hating on the foreigners who are successful here. So you don't want to really be listening to those guys, but this one actually has some interesting points. So let's get into reacting to this video, and you will learn a little bit about how the local lads here, how they miss out in dating their own 9s and 10s because of some kind of elementary mistakes in how they approach the dating game here in their home countries. So actually, just before we start the analysis of the video, it is Chisinau. It is super hot here. It is the end of October and it is 31 degrees Celsius today. It was actually too hot for me to film until sunset. Crazy. Another reason maybe to consider coming to this part of Europe is the mad Indian summer that we've been having, and it just keeps going on and on. So let's get into it. Hai să mergem.
Tsar Experience.
You would literally have to find a diamond in the rough in the countryside milking cows for a fucking living with grandma and tilling the land, and just happens to look like a supermodel for you to get that. Other than that, you're priced out the market, buddy. Sorry. But you don't pull up to that in a Lamborghini Urus to the restaurant, your girl will not look like she belongs in the Lamborghini. It is what it is. This is just the natural competition.
So there he says you need to be driving a Lamborghini or the equivalent in order to get the 9s and 10s, an extension of his claim that you need to be net worth 7 or 8 figures, presuming US dollars, in order to have any hope. Now, is that true? Well, definitely having resources like having the flash car is going to help in a few instances. There's no point in denying that. It's going to help with getting initial attention. Like if you pull up to the club, I guess he's probably hanging out in Bucharest. I actually watched some of his videos maybe about a year or two ago, and I was always wondering, because he had mentioned he was from Romania but had grown up to a certain extent in the US, why doesn't he go back to Bucharest, to Romania, if, you know, he's saying that Western women are basically trash all the time on his channel, and now he's gone and done it, but he's probably hanging out without a social circle. We'll get to that at the end, towards the end of the video, in a nice part of Bucharest, probably Herăstrău, and he's seeing all these hotties show up to the nice restaurants, or maybe the club or the cocktail bar there by the lake, and he's seeing them getting out of the Lamborghinis, and he's probably computing, oh, there is a coincidence there. Well, we don't know if it's causation, but there's definitely a phenomenon that the hotties are getting out of the Lamborghinis or some other flash sports cars. So definitely in terms of getting initial attention, if you pull up in the Lambo, then a lot of girls are going to see that and think, oh, who's the guy in the Lambo? Also, in terms of having a long-term relationship, finances count more, because obviously in a place like Romania, it's even going to be more hypergamous in that sense, that women are less, on average, a little bit less financially emancipated than they are in, say, the US or the UK or France or Germany, and they're going to look to get those financial resources through the guy, and that's obviously going to make a difference if you're having a family, like children. You want to, as a responsible woman, you want to make sure that the partner you have is going to be able to provide enough to obviously take care of the family. Not necessarily that the kids are going to be driving Lambos to their high school, but you get my drift, that it's going to play a bigger role. The other place that's going to play a bigger role is in getting gold diggers. Now, gold diggers, if you want a gold digger, go knock yourself out, flex with all your wealth, make it rain in the club, pull up in the Lambo, etc., and you'll have a better chance of getting a gold digger. The gold diggers also in this part of Europe are a small minority of women who prioritize just materialism over anything else, but definitely for those girls, obviously they're digging for gold, and if you show up in the Lambo or you have a lot of wealth that you're showing off, then that's going to attract them for sure. But for the rest of the 9s and 10s, which are the majority of the beautiful women in this region, whether it's Romania, whether it's here in Chisinau, Moldova, or somewhere else like Latvia, where I've been going, or Poland, the Lambo, which he's presented as a sine qua non for getting the hotties, absolute rubbish. You can get them in other ways, and actually you're in danger if you're using the Lambo to attract in the women, that basically going to look very try-hard. And as well, I think a year ago I made a reaction video to the Instagram, in part the Instagram of the Tate brothers, and I pointed out, yeah, they have an optimized Instagram flexing beside the Bugatti to attract impressionable young men and women who are gold diggers. But for the rest of the women, the beautiful women of the region, they failed. Let's recap on that. They came to Ukraine, also here to Moldova, and they failed to get the beautiful women. Tristan Tate outlined in a vlog that basically they brought home girls who tried to rob them, and then Andrew Tate was complaining that basically...
So this is an actual emergency.
This is the girls you had on the couch here tried to rob me.
Yeah, the 3 girls I had last night tried to rob us, basically.
Ukraine's full of so many dorks. You see them on Twitter all the time, like little fucking nobodies. Hi, I'm in Ukraine and there's sexy girls and gay game. Fucking losers. Ukraine's been tainted by a bunch of losers.
Yeah, they couldn't get girls at all. He's basically rambling incoherently on the main street in Kiev, Reshatik, talking about day gamers, how the whole city was ruined. And yeah, so it doesn't work. So don't fall in the trap and just thinking, okay, I need to get money in order to get the beautiful women. Obviously can help, but often I have clients who are, we'll say, 8 and 9 figure entrepreneurs, and they have all this wealth that they can show off, and often they do have something the equivalent of a Lamborghini. And what I see is if they don't have other things of value to offer, they normally just get played by the girls. They get used for the financial resources, and yeah, occasionally might hook up with the odd 9 and 10 because of it, but it's exclusively in the gold digger category. And the girls they really want, and again, if you want a gold digger, I have no ideological problem with that, just know what you're getting. But if you don't want a gold digger, which is what most of my clients are looking for, then leading with the money, leading with the Lambo, gets very tricky in order to screen out those kind of girls. So in summary, you cannot buy the general sexual desire of a beautiful woman with money. It will be financial and not genuine. So absolutely not. You don't need to drive a Lambo in order to date 9s and 10s. It is going to give you a little bit of advantage though, obviously, the more money you have. Ceteris paribus. So the next lesson I'm going to highlight is not directly addressed in the video, but it is pretty clear from having taken a quick look at Beau's underwhelming Instagram account that This is where so many guys leave money on the table, metaphorically speaking, in terms of optimizing their perceived value in the eyes of women in 2023 and going forward. Instagram is like a dating CV. I have another video on it, link above on a card down below in the description, where I go into more detail. But, you know, Bo is in good shape. He has a few topless pics there. But the issue with that is having topless pics in general comes across when I talk to beautiful women. They see it as a bit try hard. Yeah, sure, he has a great figure, but he could have worn something, just put something over it that still would show off his body without being topless. Always comes across, and he has several of them there. And the rest of the pics are him hanging around with his buddies. They're doing some trekking through the mountains, a few picturesque photos, but nothing super interesting or high value, no social circle. Really, that's high value that's been displayed there. So basically, it's his body, I think, is what he's selling. There's not even really a big demonstration of wealth necessarily. I mean, that was the thing with Andrew Tate when I critiqued his Instagram before, obviously, he got in legal troubles in Romania, was that was basically him trying to show off his money and leading with money, and that is not a great idea, unless you're fine with a gold digger, because that's normally what you're going to attract with that kind of profile. But in Bo's case, it's not even going to attract the gold diggers. So I just had a client who was with me in Warsaw and in Chisinau here, and it was one of the things that he didn't believe in the power of Instagram before the trip. He's a very, very wealthy individual, minimum decamillionaire, maybe even higher than that. So net worth over 10 million. He's actually one of the guys that Bo was claiming that you need to be in terms of wealth in order to get the girls. But he didn't believe in Instagram. So like, how the girls going to even know? They meet him. He's like, yeah, he's an American guy. Okay, he's with me, he has the social circle and the insider knowledge. But without the Instagram, it's a lot harder to demonstrate your real value. You can use that to showcase your life through the stories and obviously the pics and the reels that you put there permanently on your profile. And actually, by the end of I think it was about 2.5 weeks that we were together, he was converted into a true believer in the power of Instagram, because in between, he actually went from Warsaw for a few days to meet a girl in Prague who he'd seen before, and she had spent the entire time glued to his Instagram when he was with me and my crew in Warsaw, and she was super enthusiastic to see him, and things went very well between them. When he was there in Prague a few days before he came out here to Chisinau. So now he sees this as a drip campaign in terms of demonstrating his value and his lifestyle. And before that, he was just ignorant. He just didn't know. No one told him, man, you need to be on Instagram. It's going to be a game changer for you. So that's what I would say. There's just no really strong value what's going to be strong value in the eyes of beautiful women in his Instagram, and I see that as something that so many guys overlook. And actually, you know, in the past I used to recommend to clients just to go and get a photo session, both for their Tinder and for their Instagram photos, get some portraits. But I've kind of refined that now. I mean, obviously, just explain fully, we then have them vetted, the photos by beautiful girls, and then do some aesthetic upgrades. That was something I added in because I saw some other YouTubers actually who were advising that with FaceApp. But now I see that actually the photos that are taken normally by the professional photographer lack a bit of context, a little bit of nuance, right? They tend to be a little bit obvious that there were portraits and you went out with a pro photographer, and actually just getting those snapshot photos when you're out living the in-person experience, the pics come out a lot more valuable in terms of how women perceive them and how they perceive the guy than they do with the pro pics from the professional photographer. Obviously, I have a professional camera in who is with me, as good as the pro photographers are going to have, more or less. So just getting those kind of in the moments, real, not contrived shots is actually superior. So that's what I'll say about Instagram. Huge lesson that so many guys have to learn. Girls in general are not oblivious to the power of Instagram. That's why they're advertising themselves on the dating market through it so much. And that's why so many guys you'll see, particularly on YouTube, complaining about Instagram thoughts and all this kind of stuff. But you know, they understand the power of Instagram, so should you.
It's known worldwide that Eastern European women are beautiful, and especially where they concentrate in the capitals, money concentrates there. So you're being sold a dream. If you think you're just going to get a 9/10 honey by going to Eastern Europe, I can tell you right now, I know a bunch of Americans that I've met that have went to Eastern Europe in Bucharest. They can't get any matches. They can't get any dates. They're struggling with normal chicks, which is far hotter than what you could get in, the West. But from what the Romanian women have told me is these are temporary stopgaps. They're using these guys for their money, and then they'll eventually marry someone closer to their culture. They have no intention of staying with these guys. They just want to be shown around, taken to nice restaurants, having fun.
So while I agree with his analysis there about these American guys he's met who presumably don't have a high-level social circle in Bucharest, don't speak Romanian, and are not particularly committed to a long-term future in Romania, and possibly also don't have good interpersonal skills, so they come off a bit dorky and just have their money going for them and their passport. Not that that's going to be particularly interesting for most Romanian girls. And yes, they are in huge risk of getting played and used by these girls for experiences or some, financing, some support from a generous man, as I like to say, a lot of unscrupulous girls in the region. But what he's not addressing, this is the big lesson, is why don't they have an interesting and high-value social circle? I have another video on the value of social circle. Why don't they speak Romanian? I'm making that assumption because so few guys who move, at least for a while, to maybe here it's Moldova, maybe previously it was Ukraine, or to Romania, they don't learn the local language. And that is becoming more and more important in order to have credibility. It's not a communicative issue in Romania. The level of English in Bucharest is super high, like really high. In fact, I went with Angela just after the invasion in 2022, in February 2022, Ukraine. We actually went to Bucharest, and she can speak better Romanian than English. And we were in a place and they didn't even have the menu in Romanian. They actually had the menu in English only, which for me was just super weird. But yeah, that's what the level of English is. They just expect everybody in the capital to speak perfect English. So level of English is very high, but if you don't speak Romanian, you don't have a local social circle, you're not really committed to a long-term future in Romania. It's not a desperate backwater that a lot of beautiful girls are actually trying to flee in, nowadays. It was different obviously 20 years ago. Then yeah, if you don't focus on improving those things, plus as I already mentioned, your Instagram, and you're doing what I referenced in point one, lesson one, which was like basically just relying on money, then yeah, that's what's going to happen to you. Most likely, you're going to end up being used at best by average Romanian girls. So as an added little bonus lesson to learn from this reaction video, it is that open a map and see where Kazakhstan is, because Bo here picked on the fact that I described Kazakhstan as being in the very, very east of Europe.
Kazakhstan is not Eastern Europe. I don't know why he went with that one.
He found that something to scoff at. Also, there are many comments underneath. Open up a map, see where geographically Europe is, and you'll see that there is actually a small part of Kazakhstan that is in Europe. Culturally and geographically, Kazakhstan is definitely more in Asia than it is in Europe. If you've actually been, or if he'd actually been to, say, Astana or Almaty, he would see that, as a guesstimate, about 85% of the population there is Asian, and maybe about 15% is European. Obviously, Kazakhstan was in the Soviet Union and also in the Russian Empire. So it is straddling both continents, but mainly in Asia. You could call it Central Asia, say that's it, but I actually see there's a big difference between cities like Astana and Almaty and other cities in the region, like say Tashkent in Uzbekistan or Bishkek in Kyrgyzstan. Never mind going as far as Tajikistan or Turkmenistan, which are way more conservative and closed off than Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan are. Basically, cities, big cities like Almaty and Astana are very secular. It's not particularly religious compared to Central Asia in general. Most people are Muslim, and it is more devout Muslim in the other parts of the region, I would say, than in those two big cities in Kazakhstan. And culturally, it feels more Europeanized. I mean, it's not Europe in the sense of being in London or Paris or Berlin, but it has a lot in common because of its shared history with, say, Moldova. I mean, they were in one country, the Soviet Union, for a while, than one would maybe expect, right? So it is a little bit European and predominantly Asian overall. And Kazakhstan itself wants to maintain this strategy of being in both continents, if you've watched soccer or association football, then you wouldn't have noticed that Kazakhstan plays in the European competitions. They don't play in the Asian competitions. They actually play soccer against Moldova or Ireland in the European Championships. Yes, European Championships, and not in the Asian Championships. So, something that maybe a lot of people who don't have the experience in the region, are a bit ignorant about it, would not really understand. So that's a little added tip. Open up Google Maps, look at where the continents are, and then have a little bit of analysis of the geopolitics and understand that Kazakhstan is both in Asia and in Europe. So you need to address the other issues, like social circle is probably one of the most important after Instagram and the local language. And of course, spending a significant amount of time, or at least having the perspective to spend a significant amount of time in the city and country. And that is something that I work on with my in-person clients. It is the first step on a new journey of 5xing your lifestyle in New Europe, as I'm dubbing it. It is countries like here in Chisinau, Moldova. Could also be Romania, but I don't currently bring my clients to Bucharest. Where I do bring them is to cities like Almaty in Kazakhstan, Riga, the capital of Latvia, and becoming one of the most popular, in fact, Warsaw in Poland. And one of the main focuses that I have with my clients is actually on creating that local high-level social circle. Because picture this, like what is going to happen with most foreign guys, even if they're not tourists, and they're not like coming for a weekend, obviously then you're probably going to almost certainly end up in a tourist trap. But say they come and they're a digital nomad, digital Dave, and invariably what happens, they're not really committed to, say, Bucharest or Romania, where Bo is talking about, right? They're probably coming for 3 months. They have visa free for 3 months if you're American, 90 days. You only have 90 days in Schengen, so you can pop out to Romania for 90 days and go back in if you're not getting a visa to stay in Schengen for the longer term. And invariably, they don't learn Romanian. They're not really that interested in Romania, let's be frank about it. It's cheaper to live there than obviously in a place like Paris or London. The women are better looking on average than, as he said, in the US or in the UK. But they're not really committed to Romania. They don't learn the language. They don't build up a local social circle. They hang out with other guys in a similar situation. They hit very obvious touristic places. They don't really get the insider information, which is what I'm known as by my clients. So they don't really get access to even meet the 9s and 10s, unless they're going to walk around the shopping mall being basically a pest and annoying girls, basically, with this day game malarkey that you see a lot of guys trying to do in Warsaw and Poland in particular, where they're like a scourge of beggars, dating beggars, panhandling around the train station. And that is just not interesting in 2023, making this video to the local girls who have lots of options, right? There are local guys who've upped their game in the last decade. Life is not some sort of tragedy in most of the region like it was 20 years ago. And you're probably going to not even be allowed into the best clubs unless you have, like, obviously a table. And here in Chisinau, by the way, to get into the best club in the winter, they don't give tables to tourists. Like, if you call and they don't know you, they will not give you a table, and they will not let you in when you come to the door as a guy. Now, if you're a pretty girl, then obviously you don't need a reservation. In you come, but as a guy, that's just the reality, right? So they end up in very basically like expat places, probably drinking the meter-high beer in the steakhouse with a bunch of tourists, and probably girls who are, as he said, ordinary girls at best, and that's what their access is, versus what I do with my clients, because I'm known as the insider, also known as the special forces by some of my clients. We're going to rock up with my local crew local crew in the sense that some of them might also be foreigners who are integrated here, speak the language, know people. We're not going to be queuing at some general admission club. We're going to be straight through wherever we go and take a table, and we're going to hang out with a group of local hotties, and basically you're going to bypass all that work that might take you like 3-6 months, a year to build up yourself. Plus, As I mentioned, Instagram is one of the things I'm doing a lot with clients at the moment, is developing out their Instagram, because I see it as a big oversight. And in the past, I used to tell guys, get a pro, just hire a professional photographer, go around, take some portraits, and then I get them vetted by a group of local girls, just quickly, yes, no, yes, no, pick the best ones. And then, I saw some other YouTubers advise using FaceApp, so I just basically downloaded myself and said, okay, we can put some, just change it just a little bit to make the photo, the best photos a little bit better. But what I see performing better on Instagram, because Instagram is going to be better than using Tinder in general. It's where most of the magic and online dating happens today is on Instagram. But you can also use those photos of Tinder if you want to still give Tinder a go. That is something that also I work with my clients in person on the Zara experience. The in-person, probably today I should just call it the Connor experience here or the Insider experience maybe, in the eastern part of Europe. But as you can imagine, it is not for everybody. I screen all my clients. We have to see if it's a good fit for you and me to work together. So down below is an application form. Before you go and fill it out, I want you to go and look at some playlists I put together so you get a better flavor of what the in-person experience or the Insider experience is gonna feel like if we decide to come together. The first one I have is a playlist with all the cities that I currently run my in-person experience in, and also some older vlogs from the cities I used to go to. Obviously with the Russo-Ukrainian war, I'm no longer going with clients to Russia, to Belarus. I actually had a guy tell me that when he was leaving Belarus recently, he still went back there and they took 40K off on customs in cash, yes. You could be asking, why do you have 40K on him? But anyways, definitely not going to Belarus for the foreseeable future with clients. And also sadly not going to Ukraine for right now, at least with clients, with in-person clients. Although more and more guys are actually going back to Ukraine in 2023 than it was in 2022, obviously, with the full-scale invasion by Russia. Next up, you have my series of tutorials about dating the 9s and 10s. This video is actually one of them. So if you want to know how to attract, meet, date successfully, the most beautiful, the Olympian level of beauty here in Eastern Europe, then go check that out. And if you're really kind of a newbie to the channel, might be good to go and check out my Vodka Vodcast series. It's where I go in greater depth in long form format. It's probably about 50 hours of content there, so I'll link that playlist up above as well. Go check all that out. And then down below is the application form. And in the words of a great Canuck ice hockey player of Polish, Ukrainian, and Belarusian origin, Wayne Gretzky, he said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So down below is your chance. After you've done that little bit of homework, please fill out the application form, and it might be you with me kicking off, kicking it in Chisinau, perhaps, the start of a new 5X lifestyle here. We're gonna have the real kind of local experience with a foreign flavor in a city like Chisinau, Almaty, Riga, or Warsaw, Poland. La rivedere, din Chisinau, ciao ciao, from the capital of Moldova.
Zara Experience.